Welcome to our pre-departure briefing. We're going to be going over some of the highlights and things that you'll be seeing and experiencing, as well as some of the nuts and bolts for the upcoming Alaska adventure. That's just around the corner. You'll depart on July the 26th and return on August the 7th. We are promoting this in partnership with Princess Cruises, number one cruise line in Alaska for itineraries, food, entertainment. So it's easy for everyone to understand once you go why we select to work with Princess. I have with me today in the office your personal host, Larry Kopke, that will be with you throughout the Alaska adventure. He'll answer questions, give you suggestions of things to do in any free time that you might have, and I think you'll enjoy him. So, Larry, would you like to get us started and tell us a few things about the trip and maybe why you're looking forward to going?
Paula, I'd be delighted to, and hello, everybody. First of all, let me say thank you for going away with Please Go Away Vacations, and a personal thank you for affording me the opportunity of traveling with many of you again and several of you for the first time. Alaska is a great destination, and it's almost 50 years ago that we first started taking groups to Alaska. When Marilyn and I took our first group, none of the infrastructure that is present in Alaska today in the form of beautiful lodges in which we will be staying and things like that were in place. In fact, on our first trip to Alaska, almost 50 years ago, we had to stay in portable miniature campers that had been brought into the campground in one of the national parks, Denali National Parks, because otherwise there was just no place to stay. Princess was a leader at that time, and truly Princess has grown into the number one cruise line tour operator, land operator in Alaska, as Paula alluded to in her opening remarks, because quite honestly, they own the entire infrastructure. They own their own train cars, the lodges that we will be staying in, the buses on which we will be riding, and of course, the cruise ship that we will be experiencing. So I've had the privilege of being back to Alaska a number of times since that first adventure, and it has changed dramatically, all for the better, and it's going to be a great experience of our 49th state just around the corner that I have the privilege of sharing with you. So thank you again. And so then moving right along, what we would like to do is take you on a brief overview, perhaps somewhat of a photo journey of some of the highlights that you're going to be seeing. First of all, this is a map of Alaska. And this itinerary, which we have used every year for all of the years that we've been going, because truly we feel it affords the best quality and best value of any itinerary available in Alaska, is actually 3 tours in one. We will start and we will see much of Alaska that many people don't see when they go to Alaska. We will be flying into Fairbanks. We will be winding our way down to Mount Denali National Park and staying in 2 very lovely lodges. And then we will be winding our way with train and motor coach transportation over to Whittier, where we will get onto our ship. The second circle, and actually the second tour or aspect or part of our experience, is going to be across the Gulf of Alaska. Now, if you take just a cruise of Alaska, this is an area that you will not visit, nor would you visit the first circle if you were cruising only in Alaska. The Inside Passage constitutes the third part of our experience, and it's going to show you right there that we board our ship in Whittier and we wind our way down to Vancouver. So literally, you are going to have the opportunity to experience all of the different aspects of Alaska on this itinerary. As I mentioned, we start out in Fairbanks, and we will always stay in the best accommodations available. This is a representative of that, and you might say, gosh, that's not very big, and you're right. The infrastructure of Alaska is nice, but it is not huge as we might expect in a big city. We will be in some areas that are quite rural, and you will experience, again, the best facility that is there. This is a Fairbanks accommodation. You see the flowers. There's going to be beautiful flowers, large vegetables, things like that that we will see up close and personal. Then we're going to take you on as a bonus feature, something that we've included for you to experience, the #1 man-made tourist attraction in all of Alaska, and that's a riverboat ride on the Discovery Riverboat. Now, you can see that this is at the beginning of our itinerary. It's in Fairbanks, or right outside Fairbanks, when we cruise the Chena and Tanana rivers. And we have had people in the past say to me, once they had completed this river cruise, that they could go home now because they felt they had truly experienced Alaska. That's not a true statement, because there was more for them to see, but their expectations had been met. So it is a great introduction to the different aspects and cultures of Alaska. For example, we're going to see in the upper left-hand corner the fish traps that the Athabascan Indians use in the flowing rivers. Actually, this is like a large Ferris wheel. The scoop that is exposed in the top of that trap is equaled with an identical scoop in the water that we cannot see. And as the flow of the river flows, it rotates this fish trap, and the fish are caught up in these traps and dropped over into the bucket at the right. The interior of Alaska is where we're also going to be exposed to the dog sled aspect of Alaska. Now, there's not going to be snow where we're going to see the dog sled demonstration, but we will be seeing the kennels of Susan Butcher and her dogs, and there will be a demonstration where they will be pulling a four-wheeler on dry ground, showing how the dogs work. This is a great means of transportation in Alaska, particularly during the winter months, and the fact that we are seeing Susan Butcher's kennel. Susan is now dead, but Susan was the first lady to win the Iditarod dog sled race, which ranges all the way from Anchorage, or just north of Anchorage, to Nome, Alaska, a distance of 1,100 miles, and it commemorates a run that was made a number of years ago via dog sled to take serum to Nome, Alaska, to help stem a plague that was trying to go through the town of Nome, Alaska at that time. Also, you're going to see the greatest concentration of ownership of private airplanes anywhere in the world in Alaska. That's evidenced by the lower left-hand corner. And of course, we're going to see the culture and the beauty of the Athabascan Indians. Some people call them Eskimos, as is depicted by the little cherub in the lower right-hand corner. It's going to be a great overview that we see. Now, we're also going to stay in Mount McKinley National Park, or Mount Denali, 2 different nights and in 2 different locations. Our National Park Lodge is going to be #1, the Denali Princess Wilderness Lodge, and this is just one building of this large complex. And it's going to be an exposure to where we go out on a tundra wildlife tour, and I say wildlife sparingly, because Alaska is so big that we may or we may not see wildlife per se, because they're on the move all the time. But I can tell you personally that in the past I have seen grizzly bear, black bear, moose, ptarmigan, fox, wolf, all up close. It's a great opportunity to go out and see the tundra and the interior of Denali National Park. We're also going to offer and provide to our travelers on Please Go Away Vacation another bonus feature. These are why we call these types of experiences feature tours, because we always feature things and include things that are not in a standard tour. And it's all part and parcel of what you have agreed to experience on this itinerary. And this is a dinner theater while we are at the Denali Lodge. It's called the Music of Denali. In a very lighthearted way, via music and dance, they depict and tell the story of Mount McKinley, the tallest mountain in North America, being finally conquered by 2 individuals. Dinner is included. It's going to be a fun evening. It's going to be very relaxed, very casual, but a great exposure to the history of the area. We then go to another National Park Lodge, McKinley Princess Wilderness Lodge, again owned by Princess. This is the lodge that you will have the opportunity of seeing Mount McKinley or Mount Denali, because this lodge is situated closer to the huge mountain, the tallest mountain in North America, than any other lodge. Now, I chose my words carefully because I said you will have the opportunity to maybe see Mount McKinley. 90% of the people that go to Alaska do not see Mount McKinley because it is so huge that it creates its own atmosphere and quite often is covered over by cloud cover, making it impossible to see. However, it is so huge that you can see it from almost anywhere in the state of Alaska. And I must tell you that I've seen it a number of times, and I've seen it in its full glory from its base clear to the top. We can't guarantee that. While we are at this lodge, you can leave a call, a wake-up call, where they will call you when you are asleep if Mount McKinley decides to show its face during the middle of the night. My wife, Marilyn, took a picture at 1:00 a.m. That's a beautiful picture of Mount Denali totally exposed. These are some of the types of adventures that await us on this experience. We also are including another bonus feature just for our group, and this is a jet boat ride on the rivers of Alaska, so you will get a completely different aspect of Alaska and some of the fowl that fly in the air and some of the vegetation that grows, and it's nature at its finest, and you will be able to see it in a different perspective from this jet boat ride that has been included. A train ride in Alaska is almost a must, I think, and it's because you get to visualize from, again, a different perspective, the wide vistas of this magnificent wide open land. If we think we have wide open expanses here in the central part of the United States, they don't really compare with the wide open expanses of Alaska. And as I say, Princess owns its own train cars, and you can see the largest train cars that are on that train. Those are Alaska's, and this is the type of arrangement, or somewhat similar to this type of arrangement, that you will be enjoying. You can see that it's a glass domed rail car, and the route that we will be using it on in this itinerary that we will be enjoying normally gives us a great perspective of some of the glaciers of Alaska prior to our arrival in Whittier. And Alaska has more glaciers than the rest of the world combined. I mentioned that we would be arriving at Whittier. This is the port of Whittier. Doesn't look too much like a port, does it? But we can see that the train is arriving to the right-hand side of the picture. We walk across the railroad track and the roadway that's there, and we will board our ship that will be waiting for us to take us then on the third leg of our departure, the third part of our tour, or the third tour of the three that are included, our cruise down the Inside Passage. The cruise ship that we're going to be enjoying is, again, a Princess cruise ship, and they have been named #1 in so many categories that Paul has alluded to, and they have truly the finest ships in Alaska. They all feature a central atrium, such as you have right here, and then staterooms are off to the side, and this normally consists of about 3 levels, and there are shops and little dining places and things of this nature surrounding this atrium. It's a great gathering place. It's a good place to go read a book if you have some time to relax. If you want to go down and have a light snack, it's available. You can have a cup of coffee, a tea, a mixed drink, or whatever. It's sort of like the town square of a village where people gather to visit and see each other. That's the hallmark, or one of the hallmarks, of a Princess cruise ship, and that's the central atrium. From our cruise, we're going to also get to see a different view and a different perspective from sea level of the mighty glaciers of Alaska. Some of these glaciers are almost 2 miles wide and 150 to 200 feet tall. Now, a glacier is really nothing more than a frozen river of ice, and as such, it continually moves forward. And as it moves forward, the face of the glacier breaks off and forms icebergs, but this process of breaking off and forming an iceberg that then floats in the water is called calving. In other words, just like a cow giving birth to a calf, this is giving birth to a glacier. And we will hear long before we see the glacier calving because it sounds like a cannon going off. If we're lucky, we'll see that. I don't think I've ever been to Alaska when I did not see it, but it's a phenomenal, a natural occurrence that will be etched into your mind's memory. Also, I mentioned the icebergs that are created. They're not the huge things like that sank the Titanic or anything like that, but they're small flows of ice, such as you see here. And what often happens, and what can be seen from our ship as we sail by, are examples of wildlife here, perched on top of a floating glacier. Also, you can look at that glacier, and when you're in Alaska, we will all understand the meaning of ice blue. The color is, the sunlight is reflected out of the interior of the glacier, and it takes on a blue color, such as we see here, or as has been named, ice blue. We will be in 3 ports of call, and in each port of call, we have included as features for all of our Please Go Away vacation travelers an included shore excursion that's going to give you a good overview and in-depth experience of the destination or the particular port of call. These are prearranged. We'll go as a group, and it's wonderful for us to have this opportunity. These normally take about half a day, and so this allows the remainder of the day to either be spent at your leisure in town or on ship, or perhaps if you want to take an additional shore excursion, something that you want to see on your own, you'll have that opportunity as well. For those of you that want to stay behind and experience the town on your own, in each of our ports of call, Please Go Away Vacations will provide to you complimentary walking tour maps that we have created that can give you an overview. And I can tell you that the walks are not long because the cities are not big. But our first port of call is Skagway. This is where the Trail of 98 started. You can see those mountains in the background there. Those constitute the location of the Chilkoot Pass. And this is the pass over which the early miners in the 49 year had to carry 2,000 pounds of supplies over the pass, multiple trips on their back, so that once that pass closed and they were in effect locked into the interior of Alaska, they would have at least a minimum of per person 2,000 pounds of supplies. History. Our second port of call is going to be the state capital of Alaska, Juneau. And I can tell you, if you want to take, for example, the walking tour that we're going to provide to you information about, the state capital is about 2 blocks away from where the ship normally docks. Small town. In fact, Juneau is the only state capital that does not have a highway entering into it that takes it anywhere else, or an airport. The only way you can arrive in Juneau, Alaska is by boat. And we will have that experience, but just think of it. Now, someone's going to say, well, now Honolulu has highways, and that's right, but they don't go anywhere other than on the island. This does not even have that type of highway. It's a very concentrated city, very lovely city, and a great experience. Our third port of call will be Ketchikan, which is often called the gateway to Alaska. And the reason that they say that is if you're coming up the Inside Passage, which many people do, and the early settlers of Alaska all came up the Inside Passage, Ketchikan was about the first village or city that you came to. Ketchikan is also known as the salmon capital of the world, and it's also known as the wettest spot in Alaska, and I can almost guarantee that we will have some showers when we are in Ketchikan. So here are some additional Please Go Away vacation bonuses that I've alluded to earlier, but we're going to have included shore excursions in each port of call, and we will provide to each tour member a complimentary walking tour map of the particular port that we are visiting. So that's a brief overview of what we're going to be seeing and experiencing. Obviously, there's a whole lot more that we couldn't take to explain during the time we have available, but I know that Paula wants to get into the nuts and bolts now of some of the documentation that you have or will have in your hands and discuss with you, and perhaps we hope this will prompt some questions that you will contact us about, because we are here to serve you and your questions are most important. There's only one question that is foolish, and it's the question that you have that you don't ask, because if you have it and don't ask it, well, we think that's a foolish gesture. So Paula, take us on an overview of the nuts and bolts.
Okay, thank you, Larry. When you get your document envelope, you're going to find in it several things that I'm not going to read everything to you, but just kind of go through and point out a few things. First of all, there will be an e-ticket boarding pass that will be similar to this. It'll have your name, your ship, your sailing, and this is one that is in the past, obviously, and has been used previously for some slides. You will notice that there is a shipboard account indication down below, which is why we needed credit cards from everyone, as the ship, which all of the cruise lines do, requires that you establish a shipboard account prior to boarding. That is going to be for incidentals that you purchase, if you have drinks, if you purchase on the boutiques, things of that nature, additional shore excursions, and then onboard gratuities. You're also going to receive a travel summary that will be similar to this. A couple of things that I do want to point out is that, first of all, it indicates that vacation protection, and on yours as well as on this example, it says not purchased. The reason being is that we have purchased travel protection for you from a third-party insurance company. Their coverages are considerably higher in some areas as far as medical, should something happen, accidents, those kinds of things, or in the event that an evacuation was necessary. Those coverages are considerably higher, and therefore we have opted to get the best that's available for our clients. The other thing you'll notice is this one indicates cruise only, and it often does indicate that, even though air has been purchased for you and you do have air, unless you have chosen to do your own. But those are a couple things that sometimes scare people, and they're concerned about that. You're going to receive a luggage tag that's going to be very similar to this. You'll notice that it has embarkation date, and obviously yours will indicate the day that you're actually finishing the land portion of your trip, and then you're going to board the cruise ship. We do want you to go ahead and put this on your luggage prior to leaving home. We laminate them for you, and they're quite sturdy. And, I think we've had no one over the years that these have come off en route. Should that occur, Princess does provide a sticker tag that we could get for you and put back on your luggage. But this way, in the event that for some reason your luggage is separated from you en route to Fairbanks, it does have a tag that shows the ship and the date that you're sailing. So if it does not catch up with you on land, it would be waiting for you on board the ship. Everyone gets one of these that you'll put on. There will be a little third of a sheet that's going to give you the 4 easy steps to attach that. You're also going to get as supply several of these bright green stickers, and those of you that have traveled with us before are familiar with those. And the reason that you get that is when you're changing planes or arriving in Fairbanks, that is how your Please Go Away Vacations host or hostess is going to be able to tell a SkyCap how to identify the bags that are being claimed. So those are very important that you do use those. Now, the correct way to use them, the back will come off. There's peel off paper in the back, and sometimes if you kind of curve them or bend them, it'll come off very easily. You want to be sure that you wrap that around the handle of your bag, such as you see here. Sometimes we have people that put them on the sides of their suitcase or something of that nature, and they're not going to stay. And if that side happens to be down on the conveyors, it's not going to be seen. So be sure that you do put those around the handles. We do send you several, and a lot of people put them on to their carry-ons, which we do recommend. Camera bags, some ladies even do purses, any of those kinds of things that you're going to be traveling with. In the event that you're waiting in a lobby or at the airport or something, and or a restaurant, and you get up to leave and you've left it behind, someone in your group is going to recognize the green sticker and know that it belongs to the group and call attention to it. Likewise, if you're seeing one that's unattended, you want to be sure and do the same so that we can avoid any lost personal items. One of the important questions we always get asked is, well, how much luggage can we take? First of all, you are going to have to pay the airline when you go to check bags. That needs to be done at the airport so that they can weigh them. And you want to be sure that, first of all, your bag does not exceed 62 inches. The way that you're going to get that 62 inches is to measure the height, the length, and the width. So one time for each of those, and it should not exceed the 62. Now, they do also include the wheels if your handle sticks up a little bit, things of that nature. But that's kind of a diagram of what you can plan to do. Now, in addition to the 62 inches, a bag cannot exceed 50 pounds. So in the event that your bag is oversized or overweight, then the airline, in addition to the $30 per bag for your first bag, they're going to charge you either oversized or overweight charges. So it's really important that you pay attention, because I have traveled with people who shopped and got ready to come home and their bags were 53 or 4 pounds and they paid almost $100 to get that bag home. In addition to the carry-on bag, the checked-in bag, you're going to be able to carry onto the plane a personal item as well as a carry-on bag that will go in the overhead. Now, there is not a cost for those two things. If you are going to check a second bag, which we do not recommend, the airline is going to charge you $45 for that second bag, and that's like per person. So you might keep that in mind when you're planning what you're going to take with you. We're going to be giving you at the airport, Larry, after you're checked in, he'll give you a Bon Voyage packet, and there will be some information in there. And another thing that will be included is a name tag. And we do ask that you wear the name tag when you're doing things as a group, in particular like traveling, going, and coming. Sometimes we can get groups around some long lines, especially if flight times are getting close and the lines are long. We can get them to take a group around and not stand there. Now, the way the airline will identify that group is with the name tag. So if you don't have that on, there's a chance that they would not take you with the rest of the group. So that's very important. And there may be some other times that you're doing some included things that Larry will ask you to please wear that. In addition, on the back of it, so even if you're not wearing it and you're out doing something on your own, you might want to kind of keep it handy, because on the back there will be some important information. One will be some emergency phone numbers of the office. Larry's cell will be on there, the travel insurance emergency number, as well as we normally will have like Larry's cabin number on there. So on the ship, if you needed to call him, you would have that number handy to be able to do that. I mentioned the carry-on things, the overhead bag that fits in the overhead and the personal item. Anything that you have in either of those two bags that you're carrying on, you need to remember the 311 rule. For several years now, the airlines have come up with a no liquids or gels are able to be carried on, and it wasn't exactly the airline, but TSA and the airlines. What that means is each person is allowed a 1 quart bag of 3 ounce containers or less of liquids or gels. Do keep in mind that it's not what you think is left in that bottle or tube or whatever you have. It's what the size of the bottle is to begin with. I know one of the things that I often see people have to give up when they go through TSA is their toothpaste, because it's a gel and it's a big tube, but there's not a whole lot left in it. And they think that they can take it because it does not have more than 3 ounces, but airlines will take those every time. So if you've got anything larger than that or more than you can get in a quart bag, you can take it. You just simply need to put that into your checked bags. When you're traveling, it's always kind of a question that people ask is, well, how much money should I take? And of course, that varies because everybody's spending habits are a little different. And if you're a big shopper and things of that nature, but many things that people normally are going to be paying for are already provided in the cost of your trip. So one good thing that you can do is to take a credit card, and then you're not having to carry quite so much cash, and you'll have that. It is a good idea, and many credit card companies now you can go online, even though you will not be out of the U.S. other than when you arrive into Canada to return home. If that's something different, that traveling is something a little different, I always contact my credit card company and I go online, fill out a travel alert so that they know that I'm going to be in this particular area for these certain days. So that's a good idea. Because you're traveling within the States, you should be able to use any of your credit cards, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, whatever you have, should be fine. Temperatures in Alaska, even though you're going at peak time, are going to be cooler, much cooler than what you would expect to have in this part of the country during the summer, but very pleasant. So you're probably going to want to have a jacket. And as Larry mentioned, it does rain often in Ketchikan. So something perhaps with a hood. I'd certainly take an umbrella, caps or something. But jeans, sweatshirts, things of that. I would dress in layers, especially while you're on land and then when you get off the boat to do your touring, because it can start off a little cooler and then as the day goes on, it can warm up or cool off depending on where your journey that day is going to take you. So dress in layers and casual. There's certainly not anything on land that's going to be formal. So just be comfortable, good walking shoes, things of that nature. Now, once you board the ship, that's going to be casual as well for the sightseeing. On the cruise, at night, in the dining room, there will be 2 formal nights. By formal nights, the men are going to wear certainly not blue jeans for anyone, not shorts ever of an evening. You're going to see a lot of men in suits. You might see a tux or two. You used to, but nowadays, I think it's been a long time since I've really seen anyone in a tux. But certainly on the formal nights, men should plan to go, if you don't want to dress up in a suit, that's fine, but for sure at least wear long sleeves. I have been on a couple of cruises that Some men walked in nice dress shirts with a tie, but they had short sleeves. And the cruise line did ask them, the maitre d' captain, whoever was at the door, indicated that they needed to either go put a jacket on over their bare arms or put on a long sleeve shirt. You might see some men in just a shirt with a sweater or shirt and tie. But honestly, I think that even just a sport coat or something, not necessarily because that's required, but it will probably be cool. On board the ship, I think you'll find that oftentimes the public areas are a little cool. And ladies, for you, in the dining room of an evening, also no jeans, no shorts. You're going to see ladies that are in fancy dresses, long dresses, um, something they maybe would wear to church, or if you've had children or grandchildren get married. I reuse some of my dresses from my kids' weddings. So you're going to see also a little bit of everything. Um, and flip flop kind of shoes probably is not acceptable. A nice pair of sandals would be fine. The voltage on board the ship and on land, obviously, because you're in the U.S., will be the standard plugs and current that we're used to, so you don't have to worry about that. Um, Again, American money or credit card is great. Tipping on board the ship, and depending on when you reserve, there's different bonus promotions that come along. So unless you signed up at a point in time that you got free gratuities, you will be charged gratuities at $14.50 per person per day for the 7 days that you're on the ship. And that will go to the shipboard account automatically that we discussed. Now, in the event that you think a person has done an exceptional job, or if you don't feel like they did provide a good service, you can go to the purser's office and visit with them and have that changed. Now, I do want to mention that, let's say your room steward went above and beyond, and you would like to give that person more money. You would not want to go to the purser's office, because if you say, well, I want to increase my gratuity by $2 a day, that would then still be split amongst everybody that served you. So if there's a particular person that you would like to reward with extra money, you would want to just hand that person a little extra cash so that it goes to the person that you want it to, unless you want it shared by everybody. Drinks, if you purchase cocktails, beer, wine, soft drinks that are not included in the cruise cost, if you purchase any of those, they're going to have an 18% gratuity added right onto each invoice as you purchase. So that'll automatically be charged. Passports are required for this itinerary, and the reason being is that you are departing the United States from Whittier, and which is in the U.S., obviously, and then when you re-enter the United States, you're re-entering by virtue of flying from Canada back to the U.S. And so because of that, a passport booklet is required. And I know over the years we've had people come in and say, here's my passport card. And we've said, no, we're sorry, that's not sufficient. And I know sometimes that people are advised by the post office or wherever different towns apply to get passports. Oh no, you're going to Alaska, you can get a passport card. And for this itinerary, that will not suffice. So if you have any questions about that, you can let us know. Gratuities for your sightseeing on board or while you're on land. If you so desire, you could provide a gratuity to the driver guides or the guides that you will have once you are on the ship and you're sailing and going into the ports. And depending on the length of time and whether it's a driver and a guide or a driver guide, if you have any questions about amounts, you can discreetly visit with Larry and he can kind of provide you some direction with that. It's a personal nature, so you want to just hand it to him as you get off the bus and not, you don't need to tell anyone what you're giving or not giving. And it's always true with the Please Go Away Vacations host or hostess. Larry will be doing nice things for you to enhance your trip, or based upon his expertise, having been there, he'll make suggestions. He's doing that so that you'll tell your friends and refer your friends to us, not because he's hoping to get a gratuity at the end. Our hosts and hostesses do not expect, nor will they accept a gratuity. So, Larry, anything here that you can think of? I've got just a few more things, but they don't really tie to the pictures. So let me tell these, and you think if I've missed anything you'd like them to know.
I think you've done well.
Okay. If by chance anyone is military that would have a DD-214, if you have not provided that to us, please let us know and get us a copy of that, because that can get you an onboard credit. Princess honors the military by doing that. If you have a airline frequent flyer miles or known traveler number or anything like that that you would like to give us, we would be happy to provide that to the airline. If there's any other special needs, we have a lot of lactose intolerance or all those allergies kinds of things that if any of that needs to be given, the gluten is what I was trying to think of, so that we can provide that to the cruise line. In the event that you're lactose or gluten, the maitre d' normally comes around every evening, visits with you for the next night, and will make suggestions as to things that would be a good choice for you to do. There's also a lot of indication as to things that a person can eat if you are diabetic or things of that nature. But if there's any special needs there, do let us know that. If you're traveling with a sleep apnea machine, two things. First of all, because of where the plugins are, you want to probably be sure and take a extension cord. Otherwise, I know people sometimes have trouble having them reach from the plugs are not real convenient for those kinds of things. And in addition, if you need distilled water, if you let us know, we can request that, and the cruise line will have that delivered to your cabin prior to you arriving, or as soon as you get there, the room steward or stewardess will bring that for you. So nothing that you have to add, Larry?
No, I think I don't have. Again, I see on the screen questions. I would just urge people to ask questions because we are here to serve. But no, I have nothing else to add, Paula.
Okay, so any questions that you have after listening, you can always call us Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 at 1-800-362-9347. And of course, you can email us anytime, and then as soon as we see those, we'll respond. Email answers@travelpleasegoaway.com. And again, thank you all very much for going away with us.